Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Kiwaya KS-1. It's now labeled as in their Eco series, and it is an amazing soprano ukulele. This one is on loan from a friend, and it is just an amazing little instrument. They wanted different strings put on it, so I did that. This one has already been outfitted with Goto UPTs, so it doesn't come that way normally, but this one does have that. And what we're going to do in this video is we're going to give you some subjective category review of it. We'll talk about the specifications of it, and then we'll summarize it and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. Also, if you want to support the channel, there are 3 things you can do. First of all, you can like this video. Second, you can subscribe to the channel. And third, you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say thanks at buymeacoffee.com/UkeStuff. All right, let's begin with the subjective categories. First of all, is cost. These are not cheap. I've seen them online from $300 to $379, and you don't get anything with it. All you get is the ukulele. And it is a laminate ukulele. To make that clear, it is not a solid wood instrument. So there are solid wood instruments in this price point. So do keep that in mind. Now, in terms of value, however, you are getting an amazing instrument for that $300. The laminate is super thin. The instrument is super resonant and super responsive, and it's so well put together. It really is truly a very, very well-made laminate instrument. So just do keep that in mind. So I think you're getting a value that exceeds the price. It is perhaps the best sounding soprano ukulele I have ever heard or played in person. That's how good it is. And in another review, I will compare it to my Kiwaya student long neck, soprano long neck, and then also my Martin S1, just so you can hear the difference. I think the only thing that might beat one of these might be a Ken Tim's, which I have not had an opportunity to play from the UK, or one of Kiwaya's own upper level solid wood instruments. Might be the only things that could potentially beat this, and both of those are going to cost significantly more. Now, in terms of build quality, I've already talked about it. It is incredibly well built. You can see the pieces that they use for the heel, and it actually looks like they've got 3 different pieces of wood here, plus the joint up there. Nothing wrong with that, you know, and I think that is all mahogany there. If anything, there is kind of a weird, let's see if I can get in the light. There's sort of a weird, like, finish issue. There it is. You can see it right there, like dots throughout the body of the ukulele with the finish, so as if the laminate kind of absorbed some of it and not others. That's not, I've tried polishing it out, so that's not like you know, grease or human, you know, sweat or anything like that. It's actually part of the finish across the ukulele on the laminate. That's the only negative really on it. And again, we'll talk about appearance in just a second. It's a very standard looking soprano, but it is really, really well put together. I have oiled the fretboard, and it's still kind of light, and you can kind of see the fretboard has sort of that nice stripe in it as well. That doesn't bother me. Some people want a uniform dark stripe. I think that looks pretty attractive with that natural wood fretboard there as well. However, let's take a look at the inside, because that's one of the things I like to do, is let you see how it's built on the inside. All right, let's take a look inside the Kiwaya here. All right, so looking on the inside, there's our label, and up here you can see the KS-1 designation. As we go in here, you can see the tail block, and there is quite a bit of glue in here, which is surprising. Looking up, there appears to be no support for the bridge. There's a vertical support that runs across the top, but there is no bridge support on this model. And there's the tail block, and then going down a little bit, you can see the straight kerfing on the bottom as well. Surprising that it doesn't have a bridge support, but I imagine the laminate doesn't need it, and they found that that's true over time. Now, let's go take a look at the upper bout. Okay, so this is a soprano. There's not a whole lot of room to work with. You can see still quite a bit of glue here, which is a little surprising for Kiwaya. Very high quality laminate. There's one of the horizontal braces. There's the neck block right there. And scrolling down a little bit, looking over here, more of the straight kerfing, more of the glue you can see there. So really surprising there's that much glue here on this model. And that's our quick look at the Kiwaya KS-1 Soprano Laminate Mahogany Ukulele. The only other thing that I noticed in terms of build quality is that the finish sort of stops right here on the fretboard. So it's like finished from this point up on the neck and on the fretboard, but from this part down, it's left unfinished on this instrument, which is just kind of another interesting little catch. So a little messy on the inside with glue in a lot of places, not terrible. It certainly doesn't impact the sound and playability at all, but it's just always interesting to look inside. Actually a little surprised at the glue mess inside. All right, now in terms of appearance, it's very plain, very traditional, very Martin. These were modeled after the old Martins. So even as Martin wasn't making ukuleles, Kiwaya was, and sort of, if possible, improving upon that design. There's really nothing fancy here. I do like Kiwaya's logo, which doesn't scratch off. We'll talk about that when I compare it with my Martin, my Martin S1. And this one, of course, does have the Goto UPTs installed as well, but the stock ones wouldn't. The only other issue about appearance, by the way, is that the side position markers are very, very light. I would have liked them to be white instead of that tan color, just so they would stick out a little more, a little bit easier to see. Now, in terms of availability, a little tricky to find these sometimes. You'll have to order them generally online from a ukulele specialist. There's only a few dealers here in the United States. Otherwise, you can order them, for example, from like Japan, potentially as well. In terms of playability, it's amazing. This neck is amazing. The action is amazing. It has a 36 millimeter nut for a soprano. That's amazing. It's just a joy to play. And with that, it's also joy to play because it sounds amazing. It's the best sounding soprano, I've already said this, that I have played or heard in person. It's just wonderful. It's just a wonderful sound. You would never guess that it's a laminate with that sound. In fact, you would probably bet that it was a solid wood ukulele. It sounds better than pretty much every solid wood soprano I've ever heard. It's loud, it's punchy, it has a well-balanced sound, it has great sustain. It has high ring, it's running new Martin strings, M600s that I put on there. It's lovely. The sound is amazing. And that really is a selling point. If you're gonna buy one of these, you're not really gonna spend the $300 for a Martin lookalike. That's probably not why you're gonna spend the money. You might spend $300 to get a wider nut, but more realistically, you're gonna spend the $300 or more to get the sound of this instrument. And then again, also it is a laminate, so it is a little bit easier to care for than a solid wood instrument. You do have to care for it, and it is a $300 plus investment, so you do have to keep that in mind, but it's pretty amazing. Now, one of the things I do in these videos is I let you see what I'm hearing, and I use the app Tonal Energy Tuner to let you see that. So I'm going to play the C chord into Tonal Energy Tuner and let you see what's happening. Here we go. Lots of sustain. The laminate low end comes out at the end, but it is just a gorgeous sound overall. Gorgeous. It just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. A lot of that sustain is on the low end, but it sounds good. So it does have that laminate, low end support, but it also has high end as well. It's just really, really well balanced and rich and wonderful. And I really love the sound of this instrument. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories, let's get into the specifications. It is a soprano ukulele modeled off of the original Martins. It has a measured scale length of 13.75 inches with 15 frets, 12 to the body. It does have side position markers that are too light for my tastes. Those markers are at 5, 7, and 10. And it is a double bout, very traditionally shaped Martin ukulele, except by Kiwaya. It is made out of laminate mahogany, front, back, and sides, soundboards, back and sides. The fretboard is rosewood, and the bridge is also rosewood. And the bridge is a slotted bridge, and the fretboard is not radius. The nut and saddle are bone, and the saddle is compensated. It is a satin finish, and it does sort of have that, again, those weird like speckles on the finish, but that doesn't bother me at all. I'd be very happy to own this instrument. It's 21 inches long from tip to tail, not counting the strap button on the bottom, and it weighs 11.9 ounces, so it tells you how light this instrument is. It's well under a pound. It's amazing. And that's with Goto UPTs on it. I believe these come with open geared Gotos, but this has been upgraded to Goto UPTs. The action at the first fret is 0.5 millimeters, and the action at the 12th fret is a very low 1.75 millimeters, and there is no buzzing whatsoever, regardless of how hard you hit the instrument. The nut width is 36.11 millimeters, really, really wide for a soprano. The space at the first fret between strings is 9.55 millimeters, and it's almost 30.98 millimeters G to A. So it's nice and roomy. So if you have large hands and you haven't liked playing sopranos, this might be a soprano to try. The depth of the neck at the third fret is 20.01 millimeters from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck. It's a really D-shaped flat profile, so it's super comfortable in the hand. And again, you know that this is what the original Martins were like. This is what the original Kamakas were like. Why weren't the import companies modeling their necks off of that instead of making them so C-shaped? I don't know the answer to that question. And those are the specifications for the instrument. Now let's summarize it. Kiwaya also sells under the name Famous, so you might see the FS1G. You might see this as the FS1 in the Eco series of Kiwaya. They're based off of Martin designs. Not all of Kiwaya's products are based off of Martin. Some are made much more like a Hawaiian style, such as a very recent review of Barry Maz's, of one of the other solid wood instruments in Kiwaya's line. This is an astounding ukulele. It really, truly is. It's well balanced, it's clear, it's punchy, it's loud, it has good sustain across the board. It does have a little bit of the laminate characteristic that doesn't bother me at all. I love the sound. It's everything you'd want a soprano ukulele to be, and it's laminate. So it means that you don't have to worry about it quite as much as a solid wood instrument, especially in the climate that I live in the Midwestern United States, where right now it is lower humidity in our houses and everywhere else than in the Sahara Desert due to indoor heat and other things that we need to survive in this part of the world. So with that said, it is amazing. Side by side, I actually prefer the sound and playing experience of this to my Martin S1, which I would also not sell. So if I ever get a chance to get one of these, I'm going to do so. Now, the Kiwaya doesn't have all the touches of the Martin here. It doesn't have that little mustache shape on the bottom there. There's a few, odd marks in that finish we've talked about. There's the spot where the fretboard isn't quite finished. There's a little bit of glue on the inside. So what? I would pay the money for one of these. Absolutely. For that sound and that playing experience, absolutely. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better soprano ukulele than this model. I don't care whether you're talking solid wood or laminate, this is pretty amazing. So I would highly recommend it, even at the price point of $300 to $379 new. And you might be able to find them less expensive used. All right, with that all said, what rating would I give this instrument? I give ukuleles a rating between 0 and 5 ukuleles. As you can imagine, this is a 5 out of 5, even with the price tag. Almost want to knock it down because it's so expensive, but you really do get what you paid for with this one. And I think you can sleep well at night with an instrument of this quality. If you want a soprano, you're not going to beat that, really. So yeah, you could buy a $60 soprano ukulele. It's not going to sound like this. It's not going to play like this. This is amazing. So if you're interested in a soprano ukulele and you want a good soprano ukulele and you don't care whether it's solid wood or laminate and you just want an instrument that looks classic, sounds great, plays great, yeah, this is it. 5 out of 5. All right. Thanks so much for joining me on this video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.